Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome to this new episode of Ask Huda, where I'll try my level best to answer your questions. And until you call at the numbers you will find displayed at the bottom of the screen, we have a number of emails. The first one is from Tesmia, and she says that, is my wudu invalidated? Is my wudu broken if I wash the private parts of my children aged 3 years after they have used the toilet? This is an issue of dispute among scholars, because the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever touches the private parts, then his wudu is broken. And there are other ahadiths stating, like the two famous hadith, Talq ibn Ali and Laqit ibn Sabura, may Allah be pleased with them. In one of them, the Prophet ﷺ was asked about touching one's private parts, and he said that it is like touching any part of your body. It does not affect your wudu. And in another hadith, the Prophet said, ﷺ, you should perform wudu out of it. And the scholars differed how to combine and join between these two hadiths, and the most authentic opinion, and this is the choice of Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on his soul, that if a person touches his private parts, or one of them, with desire and lust, this invalidates the wudu. But if he accidentally touches them, then this does not affect his wudu. And the scholars had said that a child who is below 7 years of age, they say that looking at his private parts or her private parts would not affect the individual, because they are in an age that normal people do not have any feelings towards them. So for a woman or for a man to clean and to wash the private parts of their children when they are 3 or 4 years of age, this does not affect their wudu, because the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, the female companions, had children, and they had to wash their children throughout the day and night, and never ever was it reported to us that the Prophet ﷺ ordered them to wash their private parts. We have Brother Abdullah from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I'm fine, hayyak Allah.
I have two questions. The
Yes.
first one is regarding in a higher institution working for the government. In most cases, you are given a syllabus to cover within the semester. Is it okay as a lecturer to go and just perform your lectures and or are you supposed to be at the school throughout the,
I'm unable to understand your question, Abdullah. You're asking about the government doing what?
Yes, as a teacher in a government school.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
Yes, you're a teacher in a government
so
school.
Are you supposed to go and perform your classes as a teacher, or are you supposed to spend the whole hours as a civil servant? Yes.
And you're asking about salat and your classes.
Yes.
Okay. Second
The
question.
one is regarding the ayah in the lot of ayahs in the Holy Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that is it that the non-believers were never broken into groups until after truth was revealed, like in Surah that said, that is, it's like they were together before, then when truth came, and then they became into different groups, or separated or something like that. The number of ayahs, I cannot remember the ayah exactly, but I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to ask. I just want you to explain that. That's very much, sir.
Okay. I will try my level best, inshallah. Okay. Brother Abdullah's question, if I understood his question correctly, He's asking about a government, a civil servant as a teacher, and he has to teach classes and the salat time comes. What to do? Should he go on teaching the classes, or he should pause and stop and offer his prayer? Alhamdulillah, definitely he's referring to Dhuhr prayer and Asr prayer. And Dhuhr prayer is quite, the time of it is quite long. It may reach 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. And likewise, Asr, usually it is between 2 hours to 3 hours. So definitely you will have a break during classes, and this enables you to offer prayer. If you're in a Muslim area and you have other Muslim teachers, you should organize yourselves so you can go to the administration and tell them to allocate 15 minutes during the day where you would have a pause or a break that enables you to offer your prayer, alhamdulillah. And his second question was about the verses in the Quran that talks about the people being divided into sects after the truth has been revealed to them. And there are a number of different verses. He quoted one in Surah Al-Bayyinah, and Allah Azza wa Jal said that do not divide into groups and sects. Do not be like those who have divided into groups and sects. And the Prophet said, alayhi salam, that clearly that the nations before us, the Jews were divided into 71 sects, the Christians were divided into 72 sects, and the Muslims would be divided into 73 sects. All are in hell except one. And when the Prophet was asked, alayhi salam, about which one that is, he said that those who follow my footsteps and the footsteps of my companions. So the division is inevitable. And Allah Azza wa Jal told us in the Quran that the people would remain and continue to be divided except those whom Allah had mercy upon them, and for that He had created them. So the scholars say for that He had created them to have mercy on them, or for that He had created them to be divided. It's an issue of dispute among interpreters of the Quran. Nevertheless, Allah Azza wa Jal created us to be tested and tried in this life. Once you get the truth, you have a one life opportunity, a one time in a life that is for you to choose the truth. Otherwise, if it comes to you and you reject it, then Allah Azza wa Jal would turn your sight, your vision, your hearts, so that you would not accept the truth anymore. So be careful in what you choose. Azimun Hamid says, in Islam, can we put husband and wife in the same grave? For example, a husband died 5 years ago, and when the sister or the wife dies, can she be put in the same grave? When I read the question, I had these thoughts in my mind. The man is turning in his grave and saying, even my grave you want to follow me? Well, this is not the case. There are spouses that love each other till the death and after the death as well. But we cannot be sentimental and forget the Quran and the Sunnah. The scholars say that it is not permissible for a grave to be opened unless there is a legitimate reason and a strong reason for doing that. And in the case of a wife wishing to be buried with her husband, this is totally prohibited because there isn't such a reason, and Allah knows best. Brother Muhammad from Saudi.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I want to ask about the Facebook and some hijabi woman. For example, my wife, since 10 years, she's a Muslim. She was not Muslim. Alhamdulillah, she became Muslim. And she's she has a Facebook, and she's putting her picture in Facebook. She's telling me to my family like that. But her family, as you know, they are not a Muslim. They have labor, they have relatives like that. They are comment in her picture.
Okay.
Yes, only I want to let my wife to hear about this. It's not allowed. It's haram. I told her already, but she want to hear from you much better.
Are you sure that she doesn't have a stick next to her or an ashtray that she may throw it on you or on the TV set? I'll give you the answer. I'll give you the answer now, inshallah. The brother is asking a very good question, a very valid question. Facebook, the social network programs, different programs that are available. You have Facebook, you have Twitters, you have Kik, you have so many. What's the ruling on practicing sisters? What's the ruling on normal sisters, Muslim sisters, posting their pictures on such media? The answer is it's totally prohibited. Whether you're a hijabi sister, a niqabi sister, whatever sister you are, it is totally prohibited for you to publish your pictures on such platforms, even if you are sure that only your mahrams have access to them. Because we know what happens nowadays where people's accounts are being hacked in the thousands and the hundreds of thousands every day. And their private pictures and all their information is being creeped into. So a woman in Islam is supposed to be covered from head to toe for her protection, for her honor, and for the protection of men as well. There is no legitimate reason that allows you to post your pictures where your non-practicing mahrams or your cousins can find it. Or how would you feel if your husband does the same and he accesses the pictures of his female cousins and old school colleagues, etc.? This is something that you would not feel good about. And any man with an atom weight of jealousy would definitely not allow his wife to do this. So it is totally prohibited. It is mandatory upon you to listen to your husband and to obey him. And unfortunately, I've received so many complaints from fathers, from mothers, from hot-blooded Muslims, saying that, especially in Saudi Arabia, we get some girls posting their awful pictures on such media and using Kik to show their disbelief in Islam. Unfortunately, this is happening. Why? Because there is no monitoring from the parents' side, and there is no upbringing on the Quran and Sunnah. So people are like animals. Without the Quran and Sunnah, what are you? Except someone who has no purpose or target on life. So I do advise you, sister, to listen to your husband and to obey him, as this is part of obeying Allah Azza wa Jal. Aisha from, okay, Abdullah from Bahrain.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. I'm fine, Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah. Sheikh, my grandma, she passed away by 20 days before. As I am in Bahrain, I asked my relative to take snaps and send me through Skype. Is it okay to take a photo after the people die?
Photographs of deceased people is totally prohibited. There are two.
Yeah, because I want to see my grandma. That's why I told my people to send me photos so that I can see her for her last time.
No,
that is the idea behind that.
No, this is not permissible, and you should not do this. And if you had done this, ask Allah for forgiveness and destroy any pictures of dead people. You're not entitled, you're not allowed to keep any photographs of any dead people, whether digital or in paper. Just destroy it, delete it, and may Allah forgive those who had died.
Inshallah. Sheikh, one more question, Sheikh.
Yes.
Regarding Surah Al-Baqarah, from morning till evening we have to read, or what is it? Because only 3 days, once when you read, it is still 3 days, it is a hadith, right?
Yes.
So if I don't get the chance till Maghrib, then I want to read afterward Maghrib, because I get always time from after Maghrib. So what is the limitation of that time?
There is no limitation. If you read it during the day and the night, inshallah, this does the job. And for the 3 days, even if you read the last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, آمَنَ الرَّسُولُ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ رَبِّهِ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ, this would suffice you, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, ma Sheikh.
Wa jazakallah. Alaykum assalam. Shamima from Saudi.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa
Yeah, I would like to ask a question.
Okay.
Is growing beard is mandatory for a man or wajib? I would like to know that.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, another question about flight attendant job. Is it haram or halal?
A woman or a girl?
For the women.
Okay. I will answer your questions, inshallah.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Suhail, he's asking that the Prophet ﷺ knew, some people say that the Prophet ﷺ knew the unseen, the ghaib. And they give an example that in the Battle of Mu'tah, he told them that the 3 leaders of the army were martyred in the cause of Allah: Zayd ibn Haritha, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, and Abdullah ibn Rawaha, may Allah be pleased with them. And he told them that they have been martyred now. And he told them that Khalid ibn Walid took the leadership of the army, and he did some movements to disguise the number of Muslims as if they had reinforcements. And alhamdulillah, they managed to retreat safely when the enemy armies also feared them and retreated. So they say that the Prophet knows the ghaib. Whoever says this has to go to a psychiatrist. He has problems, mental problems. Allah tells us in the Quran that no one knows the unseen except Allah Azza wa Jal. No one knows the unseen except Allah Azza wa Jal. And He tells us in other verses that Allah may show glimpses of the unseen to whomever He wishes of His messengers. So this is Allah's privilege. This is Allah's right. So the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned in the Quran that had I known the unseen, I would have taken a lot of good. Because if you know the future, if you know the unseen, you can hedge and you can make a lot of money and you can do a lot of things, because people don't know the future like you do. So Allah tells us in the Quran that the Prophet says, had I known the ghaib, I would have got a lot of goodness to myself. But he doesn't know the ghaib. So whoever claims that the Prophet knows the unseen, he's a kafir. Immediately. As Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the, if I recall correctly, in the end of Surah Luqman, that there are 5 things that only Allah knows about. So only Allah knows about the ghaib. These are the keys that only Allah possesses. So anyone claiming that the Prophet ﷺ knows the unseen indefinitely, then he's a kafir. Yes, the Prophet may be told by Allah that this would happen, and he would prophesize, and he does not speak out of his own whims and desires. He is revealed to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have to be really careful when you tackle such issues. We have Abdullah from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Abdullah then. Alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam.
Sheikh, I have two actually the question. This is from my sister from living in UK.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody dies in the company of her husband, but he is Christian, and they are asking donation for the deceased. Is this allowed to donate or not?
Okay.
Any donation. Secondly, is my sister also passed Qada, then she forgot the timing of Fajr because it's changed. She thought that it's same 4 o'clock, but 5 o'clock. But it's changed to 4 plus. So still eating after Fajr, but still fasting. She fasts for 3 days continuously. Is the fasting is valid or not?
Okay.
Because she thought the Fajr time is still 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
Okay.
But it's changed to something like that.
I will answer your question, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, Sheikh.
You're welcome. Shamima from Saudi Arabia. Okay, Shamima from Saudi Arabia, she's asking what's the ruling on growing the beard for men? The consensus of the 4 schools of thought that shaving the beard is totally prohibited. The school of Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi'i, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, they all agree that shaving the beard is totally prohibited. And they differ in cutting it short. And the majority say that cutting it short in a limit that exceeds the fist is permissible. And some scholars say, no, you should not cut that even. And I feel inclined with the second opinion. Nowadays, unfortunately, even some du'at, even some students of knowledge who used to be on the straight path. Their beards were so beautifully long and thick. Nowadays, they follow this opinion of the fist, but unfortunately not from the top. They do it from, not from the bottom, they do it from the top. So you end up having a beard that does not reveal your identity. So it is an issue of dispute. If the person is taking what exceeds the fist, then inshallah, this is permissible. Shorter than that, this is not permissible, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. And her second question was, what's the ruling on a woman working as a hostess or a stewardess on planes? The answer is, this is totally prohibited. Because first of all, she travels without a mahram. And the Prophet said, whoever believes in Allah, and any woman who believes in Allah and the Day of Judgment should not travel without a mahram. Secondly, she would be interacting a lot of different types of people. People that do not fear Allah Azza wa Jal, abusive people, people who don't know how to treat a woman. And she would have a lot of layovers. And so many times we hear about stewardesses and hostesses on airplanes having illegal a relationship with men, unfortunately. Not all of them, we cannot generalize. There are people who fear Allah, there are people among the hostesses who go to Mecca every week for Umrah, and there are such females, but their occupation, their job is totally prohibited and it's not permissible. Abdullah's, okay, we have Muhammad from Qatar.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Really, we pray for your healthy and healthy life. Inshallah, we are benefiting more or less every day. And your program and all very much useful. And inshallah, thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair.
Really, today I have 5 questions here.
Ya Latif. Number 1.
Okay. Yeah, number 1. You said regarding beard. So then when I check one Maulvi here, he says something in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam all the time he has told, anything regarding worshipping, follow me. Other than something like worldly life, so if you like, you all can follow. Otherwise, you all can go as you wish. So regarding beard, there is no revelation, there is no Quranic verses. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he didn't treat this as something like worshipping. So is it compulsory that we should have beard? That is one.
Okay.
The second question regarding sihr, black magic.
Okay.
So then in the, even I am little bit confused regarding this. If the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was under influence of this black magic, so what about the revelation during that period? Because if he is under influence of black magic, so what about the trustworthiness of the revelation during that period? So here some groups, they say sihr, that means black magic, it's not true. And even the ayah, there are these 3 ayahs also, it doesn't reflect, that means refer to this sihr. That is my second question. Third question, zakat. Here some people, they say zakat, if you can give one time in a year for certain property, when it exceeds the zakat limit, that is enough. And even second year, our remaining amount is more than zakat limit, it is not required because already we have given the zakat. That is my third. The fourth one, regarding during salah, keeping our hand during takbir, because some people, they say that we should keep our hands on our chest. Some people say no, not required. Whatever convenient way, it is on the chest or it is on your belly, there is no problem. So that is one. The fifth one, during sitting for say in the middle of, some people say that we have to shake our fingers. Point finger. Some people say that we have to, shake our point finger. So because I was waiting for your chance, so then I got this chance. That's what I asked these all 5 questions.
No problem.
And please help me.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah.
Abdul Majid from Dubai. Abdul Majid, apologies for the delay. Are you in?
No problem, Sheikh.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.
Yeah, I have 2 questions, Sheikh.
Okay.
Yeah, my first question is computer animation using faces allowed?
Is what?
Computer animation that like cartoons.
Okay.
Using faces, are they allowed?
Okay.
And my second question is that there's a new Muslim sister, and her parents are still alive, and the parents are not Muslim, and they want to sell their property and distribute the cash to their children as inheritance. Can the sister accept the cash as a gift, or should she reject it, saying that this is inheritance?
Okay. I will answer your question, inshallah.
Okay, thank you.
Abdullah from Saudi.
Yes, I'm from Saudi Arabia, from Riyadh.
Yes, Abdullah, what's your question?
Yes, I want to ask a question from Sheikh.
Yes, I am listening, Akhti. Listen to me from the phone. Listen to me from the phone.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, mute your TV, please.
Yes. I want to ask Sheikh, when we are...
Mute your television, please.
Yes, please. Yes, I am doing. When we are traveling, Sheikh, we can join the Salah during the travel, or when we are staying somebody's house, we can travel there as well.
Okay.
My second question is, Sheikh, in these days, all the schools are giving, professional education, not religious education. In this sense, what should we do now? Where should we send our children to receive religious education with the other education?
Okay. I will answer your question, inshallah.
Thanks.
You're آخر واحد إن شاء الله. Okay. Abu Sarah? Abu Sarah from Saudi?
Yes, from Jeddah, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yes, what can I do for you, Abu Sarah?
Yeah, I will ask a question.
Yes.
Yes, this is regarding for the banking system. Yeah, regarding about the credit card, that when we withdraw any amount from our credit card, and then after the period of time that we cannot pay for this amount, it will interest.
Okay.
So I want to know if this is belong to riba or not.
Okay, I will answer your question, inshallah. Okay, before we go to the questions, so dear viewers, if you're going to call, we're going to take about 7 to 10 minutes, inshallah, to answer some of the questions pending from the email and from your phone calls. Muhammad says he's from the subcontinent, and he's saying that his parents keep telling him that there is a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ encouraged to marry someone from your own tribe or status. Is this true? No, to my knowledge, no, it is not true. The Prophet ﷺ did not segregate between the Muslims, but some of the scholars said that when a man proposes to a woman, they should be at least equivalent. The man should not come from a very poor origin or from a social standard that is not befitting for the woman, because this would affect her family, her cousins, her uncles. But the most authentic opinion is that this is not related to Islam. Whether he's a peasant, whether he's a poor person, but he is of excellent religious commitment, and she is from a very high family, this has no effect on the marriage. So to answer your question, Muhammad, no. To my knowledge, there isn't any such a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. Razia is asking, is it permissible for someone to floss their teeth? I tried to look for the meaning of flossing, because maybe I thought there is a different meaning to what I know, but it came to the conclusion that it's the same way and methodology of cleaning your teeth using the thread to floss your teeth, and there's nothing wrong in doing that, inshallah. We have a couple of questions here, so we move on to the phone questions. Abdullah says, a Christian dies in the company of her husband and then they want donations. Would this be permissible if his family is in need and they need money and they want to give this money with the intention that, inshallah, that this would help them to open their hearts to Islam and think positively about Islam? Inshallah, this is permissible to give. Her sister or one of her relatives was making up for a missed day of Ramadan. She thought that the time is 5 o'clock of the adhan, so she continued to eat just before 5 o'clock, not knowing that the time for imsak, for fasting, is 4 o'clock. So what's the ruling in that? Inshallah, her fasting is correct because she did not see the break of dawn and she did not know of its time, so she did not do any sin, inshallah, in that regard. His question, Brother Muhammad, first of all, he's saying that regarding the beard, this is not part of the deen, and the Prophet told us, it's a long story, meaning that the Prophet, whenever he talks about something of this world, like growing palm trees or irrigating it or whatever, this is something that is related to this dunya, this life. So this is not a command from the Prophet ﷺ. But when he talks about religion, then we should follow. And the beard, he says that it is not mentioned in the Quran. It is mentioned in the Quran. And this is something that a lot of the Muslims are ignorant about because they don't read the Quran. All what they know is قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ رَبِّ النَّاسِ. That is it. The rest of the Quran, we may read it every blue moon in Ramadan, but not all of it, maybe a couple of pages, alhamdulillah. It is mentioned in the Quran. The beard is mentioned in the Quran. And it is part of the sunnah of all of the prophets of Allah and messengers of Allah. And Harun had a beard and he said to his brother, do not grab of my hair and my beard. And Allah told the Prophet ﷺ when he mentioned Harun, and he said, his sunnah you should follow. So it is mentioned in the Quran. The Prophet told us in the Hadith, and it's Bukhari and Muslim, that we should go against the fire worshippers, the Jews and the Christians, and we should let go our beards. So if you tell me that this is of this dunya of not religion, the Prophet is comparing us to the three nations, fire worshippers, Jews and the Christians. So definitely it is a religious thing. Those people who tell you these things, they're ignorant. They have no knowledge. So don't waste your time listening to them or reading what they have to write. Abide by the Quran and Sunnah and you'll be in safe hands, inshallah. He's saying that we know that in Bukhari, this is from my side, he says that we know that in Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ had a spell casted upon him, black magic. And he said, how could this be? And what is the role of Sharia, and how can we entrust or how can we trust that the Sharia was not modified and changed when he had this spell? Meaning that they don't believe in this hadith and they would like to reject it. And there are people who claim to be Muslims. They have nothing to do better than to apply their logic in the Quran and the Sunnah, and whatever they reject, they just simply toss it away. These are not true practicing Muslims. These are not real Muslims. These are part of the 72 sects that will go to hell. They are not part of the sect that follow the Prophet ﷺ. First of all. Second of all, in the Quran, if you get the chance to read it, Allah tells us that the spell of the sorcerers at the time of Pharaoh affected Moses, peace be upon him, himself. So the spell was casted upon him, and he imagined seeing these sticks and stacks being like snakes moving and wiggling. And Allah Azza wa Jal told us that he was also affected by it. So Musa, Muhammad, peace be upon them, they are all prophets and messengers of Allah Azza wa Jal. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam was affected by this spell in physical form, not in mental form, in the sense that he could not say what was right, or he would say something that was false. Never. Allah Azza wa Jal said in the Quran that he has revealed the dhikr and that He will preserve it and protect it. So this is something that Allah has taken upon Himself. It's not for the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet's magic or spell was that he would come into the house and go out feeling that he had intercourse with his wives, while he didn't. So this was the only spell that was there, that he used to think that he had sexual intercourse with his wives, and he didn't. And his wives were shocked because he comes and goes and nothing happens, and this is not his habit. So this was his spell. So anyone who rejects this, this is part of the Mu'tazili sect, and these are part of the 72 sects. And the issue of property that is made for selling and buying, he's saying that he has friends. You should change your friends, akhi. You have a problem with your friends. He has friends that tells him that if you have a property and you give zakat once in a lifetime, and after that there is no zakat. And first of all, there isn't any zakat on property. So if you have a house, you don't have to pay zakat for that. If you have a building and you're renting it or leasing it, there is no zakat on the building itself. The zakat is only upon real estate that is used for selling and buying. So it's a form of trading in it. Then you should pay the zakat, and yes, you have to pay it every single year. The famous dispute among Muslims, whether to put my hand over the belly, on the chest, or under the belly. Akhi, if you pray, alhamdulillah, 5 times a day on time in the masjid, it's okay where you want to put your hand. There are a hadith that stated that, Hadith Wa'il ibn Hujr, may Allah be pleased with him, that the Prophet used to put the right over the left on the chest. Now, there are other hadiths that say that he used to put them under the navel or on his stomach. Whatever you feel good about, do it. It is a sunnah. So even if you don't put your hands all together, if you just put them on your side, your prayer is valid, your prayer is correct. But you should try your level best to follow the most authentic hadith. And I believe that the most authentic hadith, which Al-Albani, may Allah have mercy on his soul, authenticated, states that you put them on the chest. And finally, moving the index finger, again, Wa'il ibn Hujr in Sunan al-Tirmidhi and Abi Dawood and elsewhere, and Ibn Majah, that the Prophet ﷺ used to point, whenever he said for tashahhud, used to point his index finger and he used to shake it, supplicating with it. So it's not once only, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Nowhere you will find a hadith that states this, an authentic hadith. Nor twice, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Nor anywhere, just keep moving it up and down. You just point it, shake it, and look at it. You look at it while you're sitting in the tashahhud position. Abdul Majid's question, that animation, what's the ruling on making animation through the computers and designing it? I personally believe that this is not permissible, and it's the greatest form of creating creations, simulating the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal. And his second question is that there is a revert. Her parents are non-Muslims and they would want to sell their properties and distribute the money while they're alive. Can she take this money? Definitely yes, she can take the money without any problem. The problem is, if one of them dies, she cannot inherit. When a kafir dies, a non-Muslim dies, the Muslim cannot inherit this male or female relative of her or of his. But distributing the money cash, you can go ahead and take it. Abdullah, she's saying that combining prayers while traveling, is it only when we're traveling from one city to the other, or if we reach our destination, which is not our hometown, and we're staying for a week or so, can we combine? The answer is yes, you can combine and shorten. The shortening of the prayer is the sunnah to you, but combining the prayers, it's permitted, yet it's best to pray each prayer on time unless you have something legitimate to do so. Her second question is that in nowadays schools, we have secular curriculums and syllabuses, and the students, the pupils, our children don't have enough religious teaching. So what to do? Well, you have homeschooling, you have afternoon religious schooling, you have in non-Muslim countries Sunday schools that you can take your children to the masjid on Saturday and Sunday, but you have to strike the balance. You have to be really careful not to impose it upon them so that they would not reject Islam as a whole. You have to make it lucrative. You have to sugarcoat it. You have to give them incentive. The more they like going there, the more you would give it and show them your gratitude through different ways and means, inshallah. And may Allah preserve them all. Abu Sarah is asking about the legitimacy of the money or the interest that occurs over our withdrawals or over our usage of credit cards after the grace period is over. Is this riba? This is the clearest forms of riba. It's totally prohibited. Whatever the credit card company charges you over something that you've bought, this is an interest that is added over the loan, and this is total riba. Khan says that he has a question, and when he enters a masjid, so there are people who are reciting Quran, there are people who are offering salah. Does he say Assalamu alaikum aloud or not? And the answer is, it's an issue of dispute. The most authentic opinion is that you should first of all pray 2 rak'ahs, and then if you would like to say salam, you say salam to those who are not engaged, so that you would not occupy them from the good things you're doing. What the people do nowadays is they enter the masjid and they say loudly as if they are the imam of the masjid, Assalamu alaikum. So those who are reciting the Quran have to interrupt their Quran. Those who are sitting making dhikr have to interrupt dhikr to answer this brother. And imagine if like 100%, everyone who comes in repeats this. This is not part of the sunnah. In the hadith of the man who came and prayed in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he did not know how to pray, he prayed 2 rak'ahs and came to the Prophet and offered salam. And the Prophet returned his salam and said, go back and pray, you did not pray. And the man did this 3 times, which tells us that the man, when he came in, he did not offer salam. He first began with praying 2 rak'ahs and then offered his salam. Khadija from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sir, I have 2 questions. I just now heard that flight attendant job, you said that it's prohibited.
Yes.
Because the women, they cannot travel without mihram.
Okay.
So I just want to know that, like, if we are doing that job with the hijab and on-time praying, try to on-time prayer and everything, so is it allowed? We can continue our job?
Okay.
Or the second question is the bank loan from the Saudi Arabia, is it haram or halal?
What kind of banks? What kind of loan?
The loan from any kind of loan, like from NCD loan,
Okay.
like
direct
normal loan.
cash,
Is it haram or halal?
cash to cash, or you buy something from them and then you sell it somewhere else?
No, sir. We cash.
Cash. I will answer your question, inshallah. Okay. Brother Muhammad from Nigeria. Muhammad. Yes, Muhammad. Yes, Muhammad. What can I do for you?
Muhammad, question. I have a question to ask.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah, okay. The question is, I have a sister who is God fearing. She lost her husband 6 years ago. So her children, we have taken them over. But over the years, instead of being a good person now, she has changed. And we always try to show her what she's doing. It's not right. But she likes to show she knows what she's doing. We have tried all our best, to put her on the right track, but always, instead of even coming closer to us, she's even getting far, and we are always not happy about it.
She has
Do
what?
we leave her alone, or
She has what? She has sihr?
Yeah, I mean, she is okay, but you know, over the years, because she has lost her husband, I don't know, it's either depression or whatever.
Okay.
But what she's doing is not good. Like, she goes to all these short fairs and whatever, you know, and she goes out with bad friends, and, you know, and she refuses to get married. And, you know, over the years, she's doing so many bad things that we are trying to change her, you know, to talk to her. But she's always trying. She shows that she knows what she's doing. We should leave her alone. And, you know, she sometimes give us, I mean, talk something bad to us that would make us angry. So what do we do about this sister? Do we leave her alone? We are always friends for her.
Is she your blood sister or a friend only?
Yeah, she is my same father, same mother.
Okay, I will answer the
We
question.
have even taken over her 6 kids.
Okay, I will answer the question, inshallah. Muhammad from Nigeria? Okay. Umar al-Khatib says, what's the easiest way to attain Jannatul Firdaus? Akhi, this is an easy question and it's very difficult at the same time. The easiest way to attain Jannah is to obey Allah, obey the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You cannot enter Jannah without fulfilling the conditions and the meaning of Shahadatu at-Tawheed. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu Muhammadur Rasulullah. Without completing the Tawheed, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat, without believing in Allah Azza wa Jal and having your full trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, you will not be able to enter Jannah. First of all, second of all, you have to believe and understand that your obedience to the Prophet ﷺ is the key of entering Jannah. Not only that, by avoiding sin, the Prophet said ﷺ, ittaqil maharim takun a'bad an-nas. Be away as far as possible from prohibited things and you will be among the best righteous person ever. So there isn't an easy explanation except for your short question that you should comply, you should follow the instructions of Allah Azza wa Jal, the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sister Khadija, she is asking about the question that we have answered a while ago about working as a flight attendant, as a hostess, as a stewardess. And I said that this is not permissible because she travels without a mahram, and the Prophet ﷺ forbade a woman who believes in Allah and the Day of Judgment to travel without a mahram. And she says that we abide by the hijab, and we pray on time, and we do righteous deeds. So would this still mean that we cannot work? And I apologize, but I cannot sugarcoat it. I have to say it bluntly. This is totally prohibited. You're traveling without a mahram, and you know what happens on board the plane. And as for the hijab, the cover of the head is not a hijab. You can tell by the tight trousers the sisters are wearing. You can tell by the tons of makeup they put on their faces. You can tell by the perfume they wear in their takeoffs and in their landings. And if you ask about the layovers, if you ask about the relationships, if you ask about the humor and the free mixing with the other flight attendants and the cabin crew, and what happens, we all know this. And I know this personally because I'm in a family that works with the airlines and I've seen this firsthand. So definitely, sister, this is not permissible for you to do. Now, she's asking about the loans from banks. Banks that give you money in exchange of interest, this is haram, this is riba. But the majority of banks nowadays don't do this. They try to camouflage it by saying, listen, we have tons of iron, tons of copper, we have wood, we have air conditions. So we do not give you 100,000 riyals for 120,000 riyals because this is haram, riba. الذهب بالذهب والفضة. This is clear riba, gold for gold, silver, silver, as the Prophet had said, this is riba. So what to do? They make a detour. They make a trick. And sometimes this trick is legitimate. So the bank purchases a lot of goods. And he say, when you come to him and say, I need 100,000 riyals in cash, he says, I cannot lend you. However, I've got this car that costs in the market 100,000 riyals. I'll sell it for you, and you take it and sell it elsewhere to anyone you wish for a little bit less, maybe 95,000, and you would pay it for me 120,000 in installments. And this is halal. Basically speaking, this is halal if it is practiced in this fashion. However, the majority of companies or banks or financial institutions do not apply this. What they do is, you come to them, I need 100,000, they say, hold on, and they bring you papers that you sign on, that you've bought a car, you've bought air conditioners, or you bought any commodity, plus 20%, and that you will pay it over the duration of 4 or 5 years. Once you sign and you agree and they confirm that they've got you in their pocket, so they go and buy you the stuff, you come tomorrow and receive it and you go. And this is forbidden and it's not permissible. Muhammad from Nigeria, she says that she has a sibling, she has a sister who has 5 children, her husband died, and she felt or fell actually in depression. She became depressed. Not only that, now she's doing so many awful things, very bad things. She goes out, she sins openly, she does so many wrong things. And whenever anyone advises her, she's adamant, she refuses to listen, and she says that she knows what you are talking about more than you, and she refuses to listen. What to do? Unfortunately, there is nothing much for you to do, and you have to evaluate the consequences of your actions, and you have to evaluate the pros and cons, the advantages and the disadvantages of treating with your sister. If you think that boycotting her, by ignoring her, not communicating with her at all, if you think that this would help after 5-6 months, then you should go ahead and do it. As did the Prophet ﷺ with the 3 who did not go with him in Ghazwat Tabuk, in the Battle of Tabuk. And one of them, and the most prominent one of them, was Ka'b ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered all the people of Medina to boycott them and not to talk to them for 50 days almost. So if you feel that this would help your sister, go ahead and do it. But if you don't, then you should keep a thin line between the both of you and try your level best to advise her, to give her nasiha, and to show her the way. Be patient, change your ways. Maybe this would work, insha'Allah. Do we have any questions? Okay, I'm 6 minutes early, but my director tells me that this is the time where we, inshallah, have to leave you. So with this, I conclude my program, and I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what